Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're looking at PeaceMaker episodes 1 to 3. Just dropped today on HBO Max. This is a show I've been looking forward to, I can't really say all year. I mean, this is January. It's only been, 13 days in the year so far. But it's a show I've been looking forward to ever since it's been announced. And so for this video, I'm just going to be spoiler-free review. I'm going to be looking at the first 3 episodes, talking about some of the things I liked, maybe some of the things I disliked. I'll slap a rating on every single episode and then do like a cumulative rating on what I think of the show so far. Before we go into it, please make sure you like this video if you guys end up enjoying it. Please make sure to subscribe if you're new. Let's take a look at PeaceMaker 1, 2, 3, my thoughts on it so far. So as we know, this show most notably stars John Cena. I love John Cena. I mean, I watched him growing up with wrestling. It's been such a joy watching his acting career, and I think he's really funny. I mean, I think he's a funny actor. Ever since I saw the movie Blockers, if anyone's seen that, he's genuinely funny. It's sort of like stupid humor, but he plays it off well, and I enjoy him. And so this series is obviously a sequel to the 2021 Suicide Squad movie, right? Directed by James Gunn, who also directed Guardians of the Galaxy. Great director, so much fun. He has his own style that is amusing to watch. And so this version of the Suicide Squad movie was so much better than that 2016 one, right? I thought it was such a great movie, the Suicide Squad. Just that same vibe from Guardians of the Galaxy that James Gunn brings. It was a nice big breath of fresh air for the DCEU, because as we all know, Warner Brothers has been doing a really sloppy job with DC so far. So to see the Suicide Squad, be successful and it be a really great movie, it gave me some newfound hope for the DCEU moving forward. So for PeaceMaker, the first episode, it has that same comedy and vibe that you'd expect from a James Gunn movie. And the biggest takeaway from the show so far is the consistency of how funny it is. The show's genuinely hilarious. I mean, humor is very subjective. Some people find some things funny, some people don't find it funny. For me personally, I thought it was hilarious. It sort of plays on Cena's character, like PeaceMaker, how he's very misogynistic, sexist, and racist. It doesn't delve too deep into that, but there are plenty of jokes that focus on that. And to see Cena's, sort of oblivious to like what his character represents, I thought it was funny. Cena plays it off well. And, the opening theme is also hilarious. It's great. I'm sure it's going to be like a fan favorite. It's probably going to turn into a meme in a lot of ways. But it's just like it brings like this nice fun vibe that I'm looking forward to every single week now. But sometimes with comedy-centered shows, sometimes they replace actual good storytelling with a lot of jokes, right? And even though this show does have a lot of comedic moments in it and there are a lot of jokes, the story gets told pretty well. The first episode is a great start. Like I said, I was laughing throughout, but there's also a lot of intrigue into the story as they're starting to build up, like what's this story actually going to be like? I don't want to kind of go into any bit of the story. You should go in blind. All we know is that, Cena survived with that Suicide Squad after credits scene, and it's just kind of show, like, what is he doing up now? Like, what's his next step in his journey? And I don't want to spoil the story, so just go into it blind, but it's setting up to be, like, a pretty interesting story. Like, we'll see where it goes. There's also one character named Leota, played by, I think her name's Danielle Brooks. She seems to be, out of all the side characters, the one that the show's probably going to focus on the most with her story. And she already had a lot of intriguement, but then there's this big twist in the middle of the episode with her, and it brings, like, a lot more interest to that character. And she became a fan favorite to me. Like, besides PeaceMaker, I think she's my second favorite character so far. Another thing you guys probably knew about is that this isn't a show you want to watch, like, while your grandma's in the room or your mom or your kids, right? The Suicide Squad, it did have cursing, some foul language, some foul play. But it was something to where, like, I wouldn't mind bringing, like, my 13-year-old kid or 12-year-old kid to it, right? For this show, like, I'm just not sure, like, as a parent or as a kid, like, you make your own decisions. But there is, like, a lot of curses, like, the F-bomb is thrown a lot, full-on nudity with, like, with John Cena a couple of times. Like, as a 23-year-old, that's fine, but, like, just throwing it out there for anyone that maybe cares about any of that stuff. It's not something I'd probably recommend to, like, a 10-year-old or 11-year-old, right? And then the last things I want to say about the first episodes are some good choreographed fights. I like to see some good choreography with the fights, and this show has plenty of good ones. And then the ending, like I said, there's a lot of interest at the end to where it sort of caps off a great episode. So my rating for the first episode is 3.8 out of 5. I thought it was a great start, and it is my favorite episode out of these 3 so far. But moving on to the second episode, I found that, not every joke is going to land, right? But the show with a lot of jokes, a lot of comedy, not everything is going to have me laughing out loud, right? There were plenty of times where I still did, but for the second episode, the first 28 minutes, I'd say they focus more on not furthering the story or unraveling the plot, but just sort of dealing with the aftermath of the end of the first episode, which is good and fine, but for like a full half hour of just, not really moving anywhere, but just sort of like dealing with what just happened, it just wasn't like my favorite. But towards the back end, it does get a lot better. It was still really funny. We got that vigilante character who gets introduced he's pretty much just Deadpool. Like, honestly, the way he talks, he sounds like Ryan Reynolds. His little quips and his jokes are all Deadpool-like. But he seems to be like another fun character. But I'm not going to lie, the second episode did feel a little bit filler. I still thought it was good, but it didn't really add any new interest for the show for me, you know? And we do get some more insight on Peacemaker's father. He seems to be another big character that's probably going to show up a lot in this show. And but my episode rating for episode 2 is a 3.4 out of 5. Not as great as the first, not a bad episode at all, but it just did feel a little bit filler for me. But going on to episode 3 now. This is where you might feel a little bit fatigued with like the vibe and the comedy of the show. It never feels like too much, and like I said, it's going to be a great vibe to come back to every single week. But 3 straight episodes of sort of like the same comedy style, it did take like a little toll on me, and I felt that at episode 3. But because this show is going to be a weekly thing, anticipating that vibe for this show is going to be something that I'm going to look forward to. And for episode 3, I thought it was another great episode. It furthers the story a lot in this one. It doesn't really have any like filler scenes, but I did realize that some scenes were a little bit drawn out. They go on for a little bit too long, but it's unraveling the plot. We're furthering the story, and it was still like it was a lot funnier than episode 2, I'd say. A lot of comedic moments. So my rating for episode 3 is a 3.7 out of 5, and as a cumulative rating, I would say the first 3 episodes altogether is more like a 3.7 out of 5, which is great. This is a great start for the series. I forget how many episodes this is going to be. What is it? I have no clue. Is it 6, 7, 8? Let me know down below. If it's 10, that'd be great. But there's a lot of intriguement with the story. It looks large scale too. It's not like just this pocket story of Peacemaker. It looks like it's going to have some global implications for the whole DC universe, which is a lot of fun. I like having that in my show, like high stakes feel. So overall, biggest takeaway, a lot of fun. A lot of fun. John Cena does great. It's such a great vibe and a fun time with this show. And if you're someone who's been looking forward to the show a lot, I'm sure you won't be disappointed. If you enjoyed the vibe of the Suicide Squad movie and enjoyed Peacemaker like I did, Peacemaker was my favorite character that came out of that movie, then I'm sure you'll enjoy this. So if you guys enjoyed this video, you thought it was helpful, please make sure to hit the like button. Please make sure to subscribe for new, as I'll probably be keeping up with Peacemaker every single week now, doing spoiler reviews. Not spoiler free anymore, but doing like a recap and looking into every single episode, come up with some theories, what's going to happen. And who knows, maybe we'll get some cool cameos as well. So like I said, like, subscribe. I will see you on the next video. Have a great rest of the day.